everyone. We are back with another edition. My name is Juan. I'm here with my best friends, Marc and Kevin, and we like movies. And this time around, we are reviewing the movie that I have chosen for us. It is a 3 hour epic by the great director Terrence Malick, and it is called A Hidden Life. And it stars August Diehl, who is a gentleman who cannot seem to get any roles apart from being a Nazi.
I
This is
mean, yeah, this is the one where he was though.
yeah, he finally fought back and said, "No more."
I love it. I love it. What an arc! What an arc!
But yeah, so it stars August Diehl. Not a huge cast. It mainly focuses on him and his wife. He's a farmer in 1939 in Austria, uh, at a time in which I'm assuming every Austrian male was probably called up to fight um, for the Nazis against the Americans and everyone else who and the rest of the Allies. But so basically, he gets called up, to train, which is something that everyone again had to do. But he definitely has reservations based off of his faith on not. Just kind of seeing that he is kind of being pulled into the side of the bad guys with things that don't align with his beliefs, and so he decides to sort of take a stand that if he's called into service, he's not going to go and fight. Um, and then he and his wife uh, earn themselves from that decision. The criticism and basically the hatred of everyone else in their village because every other male does go off to fight. But eventually, when the time does come and he is called up, his character's name is Franz. When he is called up, he ends up actually going and presenting himself for service. But then, when asked to take an oath of allegiance to Hitler, he refuses to do that as it would betray his convictions and his faith in God and his allegiance to God. And therefore, he's basically put in prison, awaiting a trial to see if the Nazis will let him go, or if the war will end, and then he'll be set free, or if he will be sentenced to a likely death because of his decision. So that's kind of the this just the synopsis of the movie. Certainly, there's a lot more, in some sense, a lot more to it than that, as just this observation of this man and his life and his decision and all the consequences that came along with it. And so I know how I feel about it, and we'll go into that. I'm curious to hear what you gents thought about it and what the experience was for you of sitting through this 3 hour uh, popcorn flick.
Okay. Uh, I'll go first real quick. It was, but man, this movie made me feel bad for anything I ever doubted my faith on. I'm like, oh yeah, like, man, this was long, but to me, like, it just kept, like, it moved at a good pace. I want to know what happened. I felt like it built really good to a conclusion I thought was going to happen that didn't happen, and like that it was like a voice, and I was like, wow. Like it like I said, it hit me pretty good. I called my this movie. You love it. Mm-hmm. It's a movie
It's our generation Schindler's List. Yeah, I'm gonna say I was completely this movie. Did not like it at all. I felt like Terrence Malick made me discover that I have a thing for earth porn. I do. I just I was just taken away by so many scenes that had nothing to do with the story. And I just felt like they were just packed in there. Like, man, this guy's. I felt like he was just bragging about the expensive equipment he got. Because I mean, every shot was just amazing. It was beautiful. But like, he has long, drawn out scenes of the countryside, but then a quick 2 minute scene of something important happening, and then we're back to the countryside again. Or we're back here, we're back there. It's like, wait a minute, how are you quit? Go back. How did that? Why did that happen? And instead, we're back to Franz on his bike, headed back home. Like, I get it. If he really missed that life so much, then he could have easily went back. Listen, I'll hail all day if I have to go back to my family, Heil, whatever, I don't care. So he's a better man than me. But for this movie, it just the parts that I cared about were just glossed over, and the parts that were just pretty to see were just long. I mean, this felt like a 10-hour movie. I had to keep checking to see how long was left, because I'm like, holy smokes, I get it. This guy lived in a beautiful area. Okay, I get it. He's doing something pretty crazy, okay. But like, you're not really showing me that, you're just showing me what he's losing out on, which I get is a big thing, but I don't know. I guess I don't want to sit and well, I guess that's the point. Yeah, the point of the movie. You're supposed to sit and look at all the beautiful things he's giving up.
I think, yeah. I think there's definitely an element to that, right? Of the cost of his decision and his sacrifice, but I think cinematically, Terrence Malick, this is his style, really, in most of his movies. And actually, the only other one that I've ever seen was Tree of Life, and I only saw it once, and I fell asleep in it. But I was not as invested as I was in this one. Also because I knew I had to talk about it, so I couldn't fall asleep.
Okay. Because I was gonna ask why, but that makes sense.
Yeah, but no, I mean, I think beyond, like you said, just kind of this reality of what he's losing, given up, from his family and this really beautiful marriage and his children, and also the beautiful landscape. For me, there was something that Terrence Malick was also saying about, how we could be surrounded by all this beauty and yet not be able to escape, this hell, that's just outside of that, and how it couldn't shelter him. It couldn't provide any retreat from it. It was like, because this was this tiny little isolated village, that it was like, how did the Nazis even know about it? You would think, like, how did they even find it on a map? And yet this evil, that was a threat to everybody's existence, there was no escape from it, and even as hard as he tried to avoid it, whether it was physically or morally, philosophically, whatever, there was just no escaping from it. And then I also, I did appreciate a lot of those shots, because I just felt it was very immersive. A lot of times it wasn't immersive that I could like hear, know exactly what Franz was thinking, because we were on the outside looking in, but it was like I was, maybe in that village, alongside of him, and kind of, and also through some of the angles that he used, sometimes it was like looking up at him, or so just kind of, I think, giving you glimpses of these different perspectives of the environment around him, and the environment that he is immersed in, and just the whole dark, dreary, evil, unfortunate circumstance that this poor farmer was just unable to avoid, but at the same time able to thrive in a sense, because he stood for, really, like you said, he's a better man than me, better man than most, and I could only ever dream of having that sort of courage and and true conviction, at the point of really losing everything, including your own life. So
Yeah, but go ahead.
So I saw Tree of Life, right? Because Juan gave it to me on Blu-ray as a birthday gift. It told me how great it was.
did I?
Oh boy.
Yeah. I remember thinking, "Oh my god, this movie!" Like, I did not like the movie, but I'm like, I got it as a gift. I have to sit through it and watch it. And then you told me you watched it one time. I was like, "You son of a gun!"
I fell asleep to it.
Like, I'm sitting here with
Listen,
my
man.
mouth.
That was the mistake. Wait, you didn't take the power nap that Juan did. You would have loved that movie too.
Yeah, I was like, "What in God's name?"
I'm sorry about that.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut.
No, that was funny. No, I forgot where I was going. So how about it?
I mean, I'll just, I was kind of responding to Mark's, kind of comments there, but I can just tell you guys, what I thought about the movie. I mean, I thought it was incredible. It was so moving. I mean, depressing for sure. I mean, the whole experience was just depressing, but depressing, just the reality of that situation, and how again, the beauty and the ugliness of humanity and creation all at the same time, and just how sad you feel for him, for his wife, for his daughters, how angry you feel at the villagers, but at the same time understanding that they're human. And yeah, for me, I mean, I just felt like, something I wrote down is like, sometimes a movie is more than a movie, and maybe it's just where I'm at in life, or things that I'm thinking about, things that I'm concerned about, with the world today. But I can tell you this, man, after watching this movie, that day before I watched this movie at night, for some reason, I was in a bad mood all day, and I had like, I was just in a foul mood, like with my wife and at home. Like, I was just, I don't know why, but after watching this movie, man, like, all of that, it just went away, and even since then, as I've sort of carried.
That beautiful Austrian landscape.
Maybe it was, but I've continued to carry a piece of it with me every day, to just not take things for granted, to think that, how grateful I am, for my wife and for my family, and that I'm not in that situation having to make that decision, though I could be one day. But I don't know, after having watched the movie, it was just an experience that really, really, put things into perspective. And even, I mean, I felt like it was really beautiful, even the title of it, right? A Hidden Life, and how that's kind of explained at the end, that no one knows who this man is. He's not written about in history books about the war. He didn't change anyone else's life because of his decision, but he also didn't betray who he is and what he believes and what his convictions are. And that's one of the boldest, most courageous things that I've ever, heard of, among other things along those lines. But yeah, for me, it was pretty incredible.
Bro, your notes compared to mine, it's so hard for me. Like I'm sitting here laughing with my hand clenched over my mouth because I'm just trying not to laugh while you're talking. But
Yeah.
I'm like reading my notes and they're like so different from what you had. But here I'm gonna write say one thing I wrote. I put
Okay.
such a simple movie, but I have no clue what's going on. And then my other one was, I love earth porn. Oh man, so a scene that I just thought was hilarious, and I had to pause and go back and watch it again to make sure I watched it because it was hilarious when they
Hmm.
when the Nazis, I guess, finally come to his house and they come asking for war donations, and the Nazis literally go, war donations? And bro, there's 4 different scenes of him saying no, like, no, you can't ask me, no. And every time he's saying no, the camera cuts back to the Nazis, and they're all looking at each other so confused and bewildered, but they're not saying a word. And then the next scene, okay, you guys got to go. You can't ask me to do that. You can't. And it cuts to them, and they're just like, they don't know what to say. And they, again, the next scene, no, I can't. You can't. And back to them, what the hell do we do? We don't know. And bro, finally it ends, and it goes to a completely different scene. Dude, I was like, what was that? That was the best. That was the best part of the movie.
Yeah.
That right there would be a little 3 Jerry's for me if we were basing it off of a couple minutes or a scene. Hilarious. I love that part. But that's one of the things that just, why was that so drawn out? The fact that he said no. Okay, like, we get it. He said no. We understand that he said no, and that's why he's in the situation he's in. But dude, it was like he wasn't fighting anyone. At least that's what the movie made me think. I understand that the Nazis are standing there, but they're not saying anything to him, and he's just like, no. It was just, I just felt it was so long and drawn out, and I don't think it did anything for the movie. It just made me stop and laugh because of how dramatic it was.
I mean, I think almost and again, I mean, I don't know. I remember that movie, but that scene, but I kind of took it. I mean, the fact that they didn't say anything, in one way, you could look at it as that's even scarier, or more threatening, because you don't know what they're thinking, right? You just know that they're putting pressure on him, and that they're flabbergasted that he won't, that
That's a good word, because they were, I could see it in their face.
Yeah, they were like, this does not make sense. This does not compute. Like, do you know who we are? Like, we're Nazis. Why are you not, contributing? Like, we're gonna go back and tell our, our superior, or we're gonna write your name on a little notebook. Like, you just knew that. It just provided so much weight to the consequences of that action.
It would have felt better if it was just one long scene instead of cut up a different moment. Like, it was like a kind of a stop motion. We walked him down the driveway as he's like, okay, you guys got to go now. Like, because it first started at his door, and then it started a little farther away, and then a little farther away, and then finally they were really far away. And then it ended. So I was just kind of like, just make that one shot. Like, no, have him stare at him in silence for a solid minute, 30 seconds, whatever. That would be more menacing, if they're just standing there looking at him as he's going, no. But the fact that it was chopped up, again, it felt like, hey, let me show you how many angles I could show you this man saying no. And I wanted to get off the ride after the first one. Kevin, you fell asleep?
No, I actually cut out for a bit, so I had to jump out and jump back in. So I was like, oh, let me listen and catch back up.
Right up until that point, I thought we did a great job playing that off, and no one would notice. And then this guy just blurts it out.
There is no magic behind the scenes, people.
Listen, just edit that out.
Oh no, this is staying. This is the best part.
Listen, was there anything besides that you liked? Like, I thought the beatdown from the first person perspective when he was in prison was great. When he was getting beat.
Yes. Well, here's another thing I wrote actually about the prison. There was a scene where bombs were going off, and I felt like that would have been a great scene for them to show him, or for them to show like how bad of a situation he's in. But it literally was it was Malick laying on the ground with the camera on his face, just going whew, whew, with the camera, and then that was it. We just see this swooping shot of bombs. Nothing happened. There was some people stirring. We heard bombs, and that was it. But I was just like, holy, mean, this guy had bombs going off. That's crazy. But he glossed over. And then we go back to him, sitting in his cell and, talking about, no, you know what? That's another thing I wrote. I put on here that the, here we go. When the letters are read, the most important things happen that aren't a part of what's being said. Like I felt like there was important things that were happening while they were talking that were just being glossed over because we're listening to the letter that's being written. And I was just like, what? Why are you doing? Why don't you read this letter to me over the lush, gorgeous landscape? Why are you showing his wife being tormented in town while he's reading a letter to her? That just I didn't understand why that was the decision that was made to approach that scene.
See, I actually like the letter being written over that because like I feel like it was more intimate. We were hearing what they were saying, and you see all these things that are happening to them. So to me, I actually wrote that I like the letters being written as you see the town slowly turning on them.
Yeah. See, for me, I am a dumb viewer. Like I don't want to sit and try to unless it's a mystery, obviously, because I know what I'm going in for. But I don't want to try and figure out what's happening. Like I don't want to try and piece things. Like, oh, okay, this happened because of that, and that happened because of this. And I just felt like there was too much piecing. They were the constant going back and forth to. There was sometimes I wasn't sure. Okay, well, are we in the present time with him now, or are we in a flashback scene? It was kind of confusing. I wasn't sure what was happening. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe these types of movies aren't for me.
Yeah, and that's okay. I mean, just doesn't I'm curious though, like apart from just the sort of cinematic qualities of the film, like what did you think about the story?
Well, for me, based off the poster and the title, I thought it was going to be of them hiding from the Nazis.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when it came to be that he was actually approached by a knock on the door and he answered it, I was kind of like, oh, it's not that type of movie. Yeah, I don't know. The acting was good. It just felt long. It felt drawn out, and I felt like things that should have been shorter were shorter, or should have been shorter were longer, and vice versa. There was a lot of things that I just I actually looked this up afterwards, but the scene with I feel like I'm just talking and you guys are just listening. I'm sorry. The scene with the painter,
Mm-hmm.
that was so long. And I felt like it was kind of Malick patting himself on the back a bit. And it was just like, why did we need this scene? It was just so unnecessary. And yeah, that's how I felt throughout most of the movie. The times where I was like, wait, what? Go back to that. All right, here we go. Oh, now we have a priest. Yeah, tell me everything you know. Wait, no, go back to that. What happened there? See, and that's
I'm pretty sure there was an important quote in that church, I think, from that. I think it was from the painter who said something about like.
Yeah, but the dizzying shot, right, of the ceiling the whole time just really threw you off, right?
No, I mean, I watched it a week ago, so that's probably why I can't remember. But it was something
Listen,
about
I
like
remember because I remember wanting to get off the ride.
But those are still all cinematic critiques. Like the story was based on a real, it's based on a real story. So what did you think about that?
I mean, yeah, the story itself is, it's pretty crazy, but I mean, I kind of already said I would have gave up a long time ago, go back home. I guess he wouldn't have gone home. He would have went to war, but Well, it was non-combat, so yeah, I guess I would have did my tour. Hoping someone kills the man so I can go back home.
So did you feel like he made the wrong decision?
I felt like it was a little selfish. I felt like it was a little selfish, and at the end, I don't think any benefit came out of it.
Mm.
Like, I mean, when you do something, that's kind of how you weigh it. Like, what's the results? Were the results good, bad, mediocre? For this, I don't feel like there was any change. Hitler still did his thing, and now this woman's a widow, and the child has no father, and she's got to live her life as the woman who was married to a guy who wanted to just say no to Hitler and get himself killed.
Well, isn't that the argument? Isn't that the argument that the judge makes to him? Like, who does this benefit? It's not going to benefit anybody.
Yeah,
I think it was the judge who said that.
Yeah, yeah, that it was.
Yeah, and like he says, like, do you think you're better than us? Like, who are you that you should like take this and take this action? He's like, who am I that I shouldn't? Because it's inside him. I think that part I remember writing in my notes that stuck out to me.
Yeah.
Because again, I don't know if I would make the same decision, but like I just remember thinking, I was like, well, he's just listening. Like again, it wasn't about it was making a big change. It's just, I think the big quote was because a hidden life comes from like a verse that says like when you die in Christ, you live this hidden life or something like that. When you get saved, you die in Christ and you live a hidden life. And I think that's what it was about. It's his life that was apart from what all of us could see. Like everyone, even that like the Pope Cardinal guy, Bishop, was like, hey, just do what they want you to do, man. And he's like, I just couldn't. Like that guy was like, no, I think you're a spy. Just go ahead. Just sign the paper.
I love your rendition though. Hey man, just come on, do it, man.
Yeah. And I think to me that was powerful because like there is no known benefit. Like his family's not going to be rich because he dies. Hitler didn't get killed because he died, but he was a person who said, no, this is what I believe. This is what's in my heart, and I'm going to stay true to it no matter what. And like I said, I was like, I wish I could have that type of faith.
Yeah. I mean, I agree, and I think, you can, to put it just in kind of terms that maybe might be more relatable to us. I mean, it's like if you're walking down the street and you see, kind of like an elderly man getting jumped or whatever. There's no one else around. It's not going to impact your life at all, and in fact, there's probably more reasons not to get involved, right? To save you from getting beat up or whatever. But it's like, what do you in your heart believe is actually the right thing? And if you actually believe something is the right thing, do you then have the courage to still do it, or to kind of justify, talking your way out of it and then kind of walking away going, well, I had this conviction, or I think I know that I should have done something, but no, there were just so many other reasons to not do that, and kind of take the easy route, and I think that's a lot of what was going on with him, obviously with much higher stakes, which I think makes it even more, admirable, that all these things were, and that's you mentioned how good the acting was. I mean, it really was, because you just see this man wrestling and how much, and even there were shots, it was just his face, but like you can see how much is going up there. He's thinking about his mother, he's thinking about his children, leaving his wife as a widow, who's gonna help her. They run this farm by themselves, how hard life is gonna be for them. All of these things are running through his mind. At times you see him questioning his faith. What are you supposed to do, in a situation like that? And who actually has the conviction and the biblical knowledge or whatever to to go even against what your priest is telling you, and the people who are in authority, like in your faith. Like it's really remarkable and like really nuts, and again, for me, it's just again, not not that I could ever compare or dream to live up to that if faced with those circumstances and that situation. But even just to look at in a daily basis, with little decisions or whatever, how much do I kind of follow my convictions, or how easily do I betray them for something that's easier or more comfortable or whatnot.
And I think something that was fascinating, which I wish they would have incorporated into the movie, is twice. I think the mayor brings up how he was like, "Oh, you were different when you were younger. You used to get in trouble with the cops." And his mom was even like to his wife was like, "Oh, he was different before he met you. He wasn't like this." So then, like after the movie, I went to read up about him, and he got in trouble. He fought the police. He got jailed. And apparently he was only like when this movie takes place, he was only saved for a couple of years. It's not like he grew up being like he had this interaction where he found God and he's like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna change my life. This is how I'm gonna live. And I just found it fascinating that like even at that point, people were like, no, I wish you were that guy who we wish you weren't when you were younger, because nobody liked him when he was younger. Like he was just always getting in trouble, always fighting people. But all those people now that he changed, all want him to go back to being that person because they just couldn't understand why he was making the decisions he's making now.
Yeah.
Mm.
And I mean, in some ways, I'm just gonna go there, right? And this is not nowhere near that, but I mean, it's kind of like the vaccine, in some ways, right? Where there are a lot of people who felt a conviction, or just had a sense of what their knowledge that they had looked up, or research that they had done, or facts that they felt a certain conviction for, or that they maybe were like, I don't think this is the right thing to do, but maybe because it was their job that told them they had to do it or whatnot, like maybe they went against their conviction, and got that vaccine. And not everyone, unlike being an Austrian in Germany, where like you really didn't have an option. It's different for us because not everyone has the same job who place the same mandates on them or whatever. So for some people it was easier to say no than others, but there was also peer pressure and being kind of ostracized by certain people, or being judged for your decision. So you can definitely make comparisons to, again, kind of at least just reflect on your own life and your own choices. And again, similar to, you know, to reading the Bible, you see Jesus and the disciples, and even back to the Old Testament. I mean, you see Jesus and them saying crazy things, and you see, prophets and patriarchs doing crazy things, based on their faith and their beliefs. And it's just because we're not faced with those exact same circumstances or similar consequences. I mean, I still think in our own way we are faced with those choices. And what's interesting to me about this then, right, is that how those choices then impact the quality and the type of life that we live, right? Because even though this man went down that path that led to him being imprisoned, in some ways you could see how having his integrity and being true to his convictions allowed him to experience beauty and freedom and more of life by having to depend and trust in God in the light of that. And it was so remarkable to see how he didn't become, as much as he probably struggled with this as it was portrayed in the film, he still didn't fully give in to like resentment or bitterness or hatred, right? He was still so kind, even like picking up trash from the floor at times when he walked by it, or like holding a door open for someone. And that is a testament to his faith, because it was his faith and it was Christ who was carrying him through that in those moments and providing him with the strength and the perspective perspective to, and I've read about this a lot recently, because I was reading this other book about individuals who went through communism. um but it was talking about how, being true to your convictions, and the way that it deepens your faith and your dependency and your trust in God actually awakens you, awakens something inside of you, to be able to experience life in a more fulfilling way, and to have gain this perspective. Whereas maybe a lot of those people who, betrayed their convictions and took the oath to Hitler anyway, and sold themselves the idea that, well, I don't really mean this, I just need to do whatever I need to do to get by. Like, what was their inner life actually like? How was their soul, and their spirit impacted by that decision? I thought the movie kind of showed that, really powerfully as well.
Yeah, see here, I'm thinking somebody told Malick the
Yeah.
synopsis of this guy's story, and that's what he made the movie on, because there's like so much more that you know that wasn't in that movie that I feel like could have been in the movie, but no one had the heart to tell him, "Hey, Terrence, there's actually a story here, but you've already made a movie about a synopsis." But okay, that's what I feel like.
I just love that. Yeah.
No, and I mean, I think that's a fair critique. What would the story look like in the hands of a different director? And I think that, you know, Terrence Malick, many people, consider him a genius and one of the best filmmakers around. But he certainly has his style, right? And there's a way that he's doing that because there's a way that he wants to tell the story. I mean, I think you have a good point. Maybe in the hands of, a
Sean
different
Levy.
oh goodness, no.
It'd be
Ryan
Ryan
Reynolds would
Reynolds
have been
playing.
in it, and it would have been amazing.
Yeah. But yeah, maybe in the hands of a different director who chose to tell it a different way, maybe it would have resonated with you a little bit more.
Yeah, like because I didn't get that struggle, man. Like and that's one of the things I wrote on here. Because again, I don't like my hand, or like I want my hand held. I don't want to think about it. I put random weird scenes keep happening. Like it's symbolism to something. It's symbolism to something. Like I'm supposed to catch on to what they're saying, but I'm not. That's literally what I wrote. So like I wasn't getting that, and I feel like that could have been the case here, but instead we just got more gorgeous shots.
At
I
least
think
you
I
got
think
that,
that
right?
got in the way.
At least you got that.
Yeah, no, it was a beautiful movie.
Oh,
Makes
so
me
you're telling
want
me you didn't like the randomness of their turnips being stolen, or some weird little
no,
kid parade happening?
no. Like it just, I was good. I was good. There were just so many things. I was going, what was that? Like I don't, was that was that important? Am I missing something? Uh, but yeah, no, it was very, very pretty to see. I would love to visit Nazi controlled Austria at some point in my life.
It's funny, but I teared. That's funny.
Fortunately, it's no longer.
Yeah,
Um,
it's not possible. But but there was one scene that made me tear up, which I wasn't expecting, and the scene between, like, that mom was such a, like, what's a nice word to say? She was really mean to her daughter-in-law,
yeah.
because she was like mean, 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 and then all of a sudden he got sentenced to death, and like all of a sudden you see the town start turning back, and I really teared up when the mom was like, "Hey, I need to talk to you. You've been really good to my son, and you were really good to me." And then like they just hugged or whatever, and I was tearing up. I was like, "Oh, it's such a beautiful scene."
Yeah.
So that part got me. I just wanted to throw that out there.
No, I
Yeah.
think I checked to see how much time was left during that time.
Yeah, I mean, it was heart wrenching and gut wrenching. I mean, I was checking the time too because I mean I knew it was 3 hours, but it was just depressing.
My loins were on fire. I had to use the restroom.
It was it was depressing, but sobering, and just because it's this glimpse of life is it's beautiful. It's a gift. It's a treasure. It's something that we shouldn't take for granted because we don't know how long we have, and yet as beautiful as it is, it's also like dreadful, and frightening, and tragic, and we can't escape that, and sometimes the tragedy is what brings about more beauty, and at least an appreciation for it. And it was just the reality of all of that at the same time. It was heavy, is what I could say. And as much as I liked it, it is similar to me, like the Passion of the Christ. I think somebody said this at the beginning, like I do want to recommend it to as many people as I can, like I think it does need to be watched because it is a movie that is more than a movie. But I personally probably will wait a while before I watch it again and allow myself to sink into that dark place and feel all those emotions again. But I liked it. I mean, if we want to go into the ratings, which of course we have our trusted Little Jerry's ratings, where a 3 means you love it, a 2 is meh, take it or leave it, and a one means that you really didn't like it very much. For me, and I will say it's more of a personal thing, but again, I do believe, maybe aside from Mark, everyone who watches it could get something good out of it, aside from the nature shots. And yeah, so for me it's a 3, definitely.
Kevin?
All right. So again, I agree with Juan a lot, and I do think it's a beautiful movie. I do think a lot of people get from it. It's not a 3 for me, just because when I watch it, while I love it, I could fairly admit that it's not a movie for everybody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's some grown people who'll sit there and they'll just be bored, like, and not even for the same reason Mark's. It's just the pacing's different, the action's not there and stuff. So, and also I just want to say this: the ending, I thought he was going to get saved the whole time. So that I did. I'm like, oh, he's a good bomb. I didn't know his story. I didn't know the war didn't end for 2 more years. But I was like,
I knew that buddy was dead.
Like, here he comes. I'm like, oh, here he goes. But it's a great movie that I would recommend. So I'm going to go back to my decimal system, and I would give it a great solid.
You ever left it?
2. I gave it 3 last week. I will give a solid 2.75, and it only gets knocked down a little because I don't think it's a movie like that everyone would be able to enjoy, just because some people just don't like the style of movie.
That's fair.
Well, I'm gonna I wrote a 1-sentence review. Let me go. Let me find it here. I put
get the old glasses up.
1.9 repeating, would not keep this. No, wait. What did I? Oh, here we go. Sorry, I put a jarble of mess here. I put 1.9 repeating. This is a life I will keep hidden. Now, the 0.9, this is my first time doing a decimal system. The 0.9 is actually an homage to Kevin, but I do think there were amazing shots. Like, I am not exaggerating that part. There were a lot of shots I was like taken aback. Like, I joked about him riding the bike, but that was probably one of the nicest shots in the movie. Just phenomenal. So that's why the 0.9 repeating comes in, because it's not enough to push me to a 2, so I will never watch this movie again.
And even not only the shots, but like the location that he found for it was incredible. I mean, there was even like a waterfall, and it was amazing. But just so you guys know, every one of my picks for the next foreseeable future is going to be the whole encyclopedia of Terrence Malick movies.
Joy.
Dude, and you know what?
Mm.
I think I do vaguely remember giving you Tree of Life. I mean, I am
I
a
remember, I remember that too.
No, vaguely.
I
Because
will
I
say,
also do remember you were like championing that movie. Like you were just, this movie is phenomenal.
yeah. And
You told me to give it. You told me to give it a chance. That at first it's different than what I would expect, but give it a chance.
wow, I really do want to watch it again, because I mean, I am. I mean, in one sense, I'm patting myself on the back because I think, especially, that is a great gift. It's on Blu-ray. You already know cinematically it's going to be beautiful.
It was pretty.
And I do need to go back because I didn't know at the time when I watched it. I've learned more about it since, and I read a good article about it. But it's actually like an allegory for the creation story, is what it's meant to be. And I
You
never,
just now knew that?
yeah, I didn't know that, bro.
Wow. Oh, yeah.
I didn't
Listen,
know
Kevin's got a copy. He'll let you, he'll let you
Yeah.
borrow it, definitely.
that. Send it. I want to watch it again. It's
Like-
another long one. That's probably why I haven't, but I do want to watch that.
Like I didn't hate it. It was just like really slow at parts. I'm like,
Yeah. And actually, I expected this one to be, because if I remember that one, it went from the future, from the present to the past, and
yeah,
you know, the storyline was a lot more broken up. I expected this one to be more like that, and was actually surprised kind of how linear and straightforward the story actually was, which I was grateful for, because at the time that I watched Tree of Life, I definitely think that a lot of that you know, went over my head clearly. But I
there
am
were
a
random shots of trees and an embryo. I'm like,
yeah.
okay,
Yeah, I
that's
mean,
what I remember.
I am a historically terrible gift giver. It takes me a lot of effort to give a good gift. So I don't know.
But that's good,
Well-
man. You just gift us with things that you like.
I'm gonna say
I'll give
You're
you props for not
welcome.
giving to. I'll give you props for not giving me it 2 years in a row, though. So that's how I will commend you.
no one gets that joke, bro, except for
I know.
me and you.
That's all. That's all. That it was just meant for me and you.
Oh, all right. Lame. All right. Well, it's been fun. It's been real. And it's
All
been
right.
really fun.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to say I kind of knew going into this it wasn't going to be a barrel of laughs. So I apologize.
No action either. No Jason Bourne.
Yeah, so I apologize to our few listeners if this one, you know, lacks the comedy of the others, but we'll be back for sure. We'll be back with
Before you end it, I do want to commend you and Mark for picking movies that we may have not liked all of them, but I've never heard of, and I was genuinely surprised by things in the movie. Because you'll see as my picks next week, it's not going to be the same stuff. But I commend y'all for y'all picks.
Another Sean Levy movie. I can't with this guy.
Ryan Reynolds, nah.
Holy.
let's change the name of the podcast to Sean Levy Fan Club.
I'm kidding. No. But it's like I feel mine are more popular fair, and yours are like I never even heard of this movie. I didn't hear of some that Mark picked, but like y'all, they've been very enlightening movies, and I commend you guys for picking those.
Well, and I don't think it's been on purpose, especially for me. Like I had heard of this movie and I knew I needed to watch it, but I hadn't watched it. So I think I wanted to share the experience with you guys and kind of force myself to watch it. And I'm glad I did. So kudos.
So am I.
Kudos to
I
you.
kind of wish you didn't.
All right.
Yeah.
Marcus, not.
Again, I'm looking to get off this ride. I'm still looking to get off.
He's looking at the carny going, "Dear Lord, please stop this."
I'll get off when Juan hits end.
All right. On that note, I'm gonna hit end.
All right. Stay beautiful, people.
It's been good. It's been real. Peace out, haters.